Eccoci qua ancora insieme, appuntamento di Sara Vera. Allora,
Good
come
evening,
la
everybody.
scorsa volta.
Here we are together
Allora,
again for a new
Alberto.
broadcast of the talk show.
45
Is
per
that
Sara
true?
Vetta. E allora, vince
This
molto,
evening's
guadagna molto.
topic
Ma
gives us the
brevemente
opportunity
il prossimo argomento,
to
poi
give
entriamo nel
an
vivo dei nostri
answer
appuntamenti,
to
dei
all your
nostri argomenti
questions
che
and
andremo a
also to
studiare
meet tonight's guest,
durante
a
questa
young
nostra
man
serata. Un
who
personaggio
had
giovane.
a very
Alberto
troubled
nel
past
trascorso molto
when he
vivace,
was younger,
definirlo così, della sua
until he came
adolescenza, però
across
comunque
some very important
riuscì a
situations in
calmarsi
his life,
perché diciamo così, ha
situations
accettato
which made him
situazioni
sort
importanti
of
di vita.
calm down.
Allora, cari amici, questa sera abbiamo un ospite
Dear
che
friends,
sta facendo una
tonight's
serie di
guest is
riflessioni
presently making a
meravigliose
huge
a livello
kind of
nazionale
widespread
e
of
si è
very
fatto da
important
solo
topics at a
perché
national level.
prima lo
He's
definivo
quite a
coraggioso,
self-made man.
perché
I have also
poi
defined
ha
him
avuto
courageous
il
because he
fatto che
certainly
non
had
lascerebbe
guts in doing
lui
what he did,
e
something we will let him explain to
nel
us
mezzo
in
di
his
questo
own
percorso di vita che
words.
fra poco vi racconterà ha
One day,
sentito una
this young man
chiamata
started to
che l'ha
feel
portato
inside
a
a sort of
intraprendere
call
delle
which brought
riflessioni a
him
livello
to
globale,
put
a livello
together some issues at a global
macroeconomico,
level.
ma in
But I don't
modo
want to be a
da
spoiler
ovviare quella che sarà la
about
sua
what he
spiegazione.
is going to
Quindi
explain to
benvenuto
us
Alberto
right now. Let me
Caccialanza
now introduce you
e
Alberto
Alberto
Caccialanza.
benvenuto
Hello
finalmente in Sala
Alberto,
Vera.
and welcome to
Ciao a
our new
tutti, ciao
broadcast.
ragazzi, grazie mille, siete stati
Hello
molto
everybody, it
gentili.
is very kind of you to introduce me
Ciao a
with
tutti.
these new
Benvenuto a questo nostro
words.
appuntamento importante.
Thanks a lot, Luca.
Lorenzo ha parlato veramente
Hello
tanto
Alberto, and thank you
bene,
very much for
ci ha
being with
spiegato un po'
us.
anche nel
Our
dettaglio
friend Lorenzo
le
has
sue
talked to us
esperienze e
very well
soprattutto il suo
about you.
percorso
He
fino a
has
questo
indeed
momento,
explained to
Alberto.
us your past experiences in detail, experiences which
Esatto.
brought you to change your own
Sì,
life.
ti spiego.
Well, that's right.
Io
Well,
inizialmente
first of
fino
all, let
a
me
6
explain the kind of
anni
life
ero
I was
un
leading
ragazzo
until
convinto,
6.5 years
per un
ago.
motivo estremamente
I
vivace,
actually
soprattutto
had been so far
nel
a
dire
firmly
che
convinced
a
atheist.
scuola
I was also
disturbo,
excessively lively when I was a
scollerata.
kid.
Ho
I used to
iniziato
make trouble all the time
all'università,
when
poi
I
si
was
è
at school.
sviluppata
This
la
excessive
violenza
liveliness turned
e
very
da
soon
ragazzo
into
fino
violence,
a
in the real
ripudiare
sense
la
of the word.
discoteca,
I
ecco,
was
solo
used to
mandare tutti
arguing
fuori a
all the
letto
time wherever
semplicemente
I
perché
was.
avesse un litigio, una
I
scartoffata.
wasn't indeed the
Però
typical kid
continuo
who
e
fought
ho
or
avuto
argued
vari
occasionally.
trasporti con la giustizia.
The arguments were actually
Nel
continuous,
2014 ho preso la mia
and that
ultima
gave me
denuncia
several problems with
appena
justice.
prima di
The
convertirmi
most
e
recent time I was
soprattutto
reported to the police was in
quest'uomo che mi ha
2014,
inviato una carta
just
mi
before
ha
my life
scritto:
changed
Alberto
and my conversion
Caccialanza,
took
non
place.
mostra alcuna pietà
On that
e
occasion,
cerchi
the
di
Justice
provare
Court
le tue
sent me an
forze.
official paper
Sono
where I was
chiamato alla
described as a
solidarietà.
person not
Questo è un
capable of
documento
demonstrating any
divertente,
kind of pity or
chi viene
kindness
eletto in
towards human
sport può
beings.
credersi o non credersi, c'è.
This document does exist
Mentre
nowadays.
leggevo questa frase
Does not
chiaramente
need
ho
to be
pensato
proved
di
right.
sì,
When I was
ho
handed in
potuto
this
leggere
document,
ero una
I suddenly
persona piena
felt
di
and I
odio,
became aware that I was full of
vendicativa,
hatred.
ho
I had to
avuto
change,
danni per
and that,
reati di
in
desonestà,
short,
di
my life
terrorismo, insomma,
was a complete
veramente ero messo
disaster.
malissimo.
E cos'è che è
What
successo
happened
dopo
next,
questo,
Alberto?
Alberto, che
What
hai avuto
brought you
una
to
vita
change your
veramente
life
brutta
all
e
at
veramente
once?
difficile?
Well,
Sì, nel
let me explain that to
2014
you. I
mi
was
ero
watching a TV
trasferito
show in
all'Università di
2014.
Padova
It
e
was
parlava
broadcast on a very
dell'istituzione
important
per
Italian national
persone di
commercial channel
religioni
called
completamente
Italia
differenti.
Uno. The
E
talk
penso
show
che
was
sono
dealing with the
appartenenti
messages Our
completamente
Lady
di strade
had given to a
differenti
mystic in
di
San Bonico,
religione.
near
Il
Piacenza,
team
in
di
the
questo
north of Italy, not
programma
far from where I
guidato
live. The
verso il
team of
Medicevo
presenters of the
aveva anche
TV
fatto delle
program I was
ricerche
watching
e
started to
mi
show the
hanno
mystic
indicato,
on the
grazie
exact
a
moment he
qualche
received the
tecnico
messages.
espositore,
And to my
immediatamente con una
amazement, the camera
punteggiatura più piccola,
was
più
showing the
corposa,
surrounding
eccetera,
area sort of
hanno cambiato
throbbing,
di forma misteriosa.
exactly like a
Il
beating
televisore
heart.
stesso
The
della
pixels of the
telecamera, che non
screen
vedevo da anni
even
perché era
started to
totalmente
change
rotta,
their color and
ha
shape.
detto: non ho mai
The owner
visto
of the
nulla del
camera,
genere,
a
non so dare
professionist,
spiegazioni.
a
Questa
professionist I had then
cosa
known
l'ho
for quite a
ripetuta
long
varie volte
time
su
then,
YouTube
said he had never seen anything like that before. You can find this interview on YouTube if you type on your search engine the exact words "interview on San Bonico," exactly as I have just said. The video lasts 20 minutes approximately. You can see in this video the camera I was telling you about, and you can also listen to other witnesses. I suddenly thought that obviously a camera is a technical device. So, the camera is not supposed to tell lie. And this event is unexplainable. One evening, a few weeks later, I went to San Bonico on my own. I arrived by car, I parked, I got off the car and I walked to the place of the apparitions. On the exact moment I arrived, I could feel a kind of sphere of heat, so to speak, which traced a sort of circle over my abdomen. When I arrived home, I started to seriously think about all that, and from that moment onwards, my own life suddenly changed. I no longer went to disco. I no longer spent evenings out with my friends. They didn't understand at the beginning, but after some time I explained everything to them. I started to study these messages in detail, from the first to the last, exactly as I would have done with a book. And I did the same with the messages of other apparitions which took place in Brazil, in Venezuela, in Spain, in Argentina, and most of them in Italy. I was amazed by the coincidence of all the messages, but also by the importance of their content. I'm going to read them right now. Trevignano Romano, Rome, November 2020. This is the worst moment humankind has ever lived so far. Oliveto Citra, Caserta, 2005. Everybody must be prepared, because the whole world has just come across the age of suffering. Lecce, south of Italy, 2011. The age you're living is the worst of all. We are living the time of the second coming of Christ. As you can see, our Virgin Lady has actually announced that, in all the apparitions I have studied, in all the messages with the corresponding dates, I showed some of them during my meetings, and I'm going to show some more. We are therefore living the times of the Apocalypse of St. John, the worst time ever in history. The term worst is to be intended literally, because these times are going to be even worse than World War I and World War II as well, even worse than the so-called Black Plague, the plague of the 14th and 15th century, and so on. Therefore, I started to deal with this new topic and to face this new reality, and I was really upset. It wasn't something which only scared me for myself, you know, but the thing is, I also felt, well, what about all the others? How are they going to overcome all this, since they hardly know anything at all? I started to think about all my friends, my former schoolmates, my relatives, my job colleagues, and so I started to get going, as the saying goes. First of all, I started to work on this project. I printed some notes with a list of the prophecies. What you can see here is a notebook I have hardly ever shown to anyone so far. I obviously started with clergymen, bishops, and priests. I don't know if you can see these notes well enough. What I actually would like to do is announce the name of a town, Pavia, in the north of Italy, which is written on it. You can also read written here the names of other towns, such as Belgioioso, Pinarolo, Parma, Polesine, Frescarolo, Busseto, Bormio, and so on. I have probably visited 500 towns so far. As soon as I arrived in a town, I started to hand in these messages to as many people as possible, starting with people I used to meet while they were going to church and going out as well. I went on, obviously, by contacting military forces in their headquarters, had been to headquarters of policemen, 5 brigades, Italian Carabinieri, and Italian Army as well. What I needed to do is simply ring the bell, and they let me in, and I just handed in these documents. I also used to go outside colleges and high schools, at mosques, in the buildings where Buddhists and Hindus gather to pray. I used to go there to warn them of everything they needed to know. The documents included everything concerning this topic, including the warnings coming from the Virgin Mary about the world pandemics, the implantation of microchips, which is probably near to come, and the injection of this kind of liquid which everybody knows, and I don't even mention, and on the arrival of a new world order. I'm going to read some more messages. Valeria Capponi, Rome, December 2020. You already know what was about to happen, but now you have lost your freedom, and you are starting to realize that what you have been warned of is already taking place. Carbonia, April 2020. The dictatorship of a new world government has already begun. This generation will have to suffer a lot. Jacaré, Brazil, January 2021. Please pray for the nations which risk falling under a satanic rule and a satanic slavery. Please, my children, pay attention to the fact that I started to hand in these messages in 2015. Now, this disease has already arrived, and everything we were expecting is happening right now. We have actually entered a very deep cycle of cleansing, and we will get out of it only after the second coming of my Son, Jesus Christ. There are more and more people who have already realized that everything has begun, but a lot of other people keep falling into the trap of thinking, oh, we have to be positive and optimistic. Let's hope everything will be back as it was before, that the economy will recover and that the lost jobs will be restored, at least most of them. But we have to face reality. We shouldn't neglect Mary's messages. Neither should we underestimate the power of this world elite, which is preparing a one-world government. The messages you have received and the way you reacted to them show us the evidence that you put immediately yourself into service of people's spiritual needs. You change all of a sudden your way of thinking. There is also evidence of your strong personal commitment, and this shows us a young person like you who is committed to this mission in a very active way. And this shows us also that you believe strongly in all this. But the question is, what gave you the real boost towards doing what you did, aware of the fact that it might be the right thing to do? Who are these so-called evil Satanist people who are totally taking possession of the world? Well, they are a so-called elite, a group of people enormously powerful at a global level. If we want to reveal their plans, to make them known, we are supposed to listen to what they say, because they have the custom to tell us in advance, in a hidden way, what they are about to carry on. We are actually dealing with people such as the former Italian Prime Minister Renzi, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Mikhail Gorbachev, Nicolas Sarkozy, Ahmadinejad. Therefore, people from the elite ruling all over the world, not to mention the former Italian President of the Republic, Giorgio Napolitano, who allegedly, as also Joele Magaldi reported, is a member of the International Masonic Lodge, Three Eyes. All these people have publicly claimed the necessity for the world to enter a new world order. If the pandemic is defeated, though, everything will go back as it was before, and we will not enter this new world order. So what is supposed to happen next? I'll read some more messages. Carbonia, 2020. The fight against the virus will be useless. Everything has been carefully planned by the wicked snakes. The Antichrist will send another virus in order to compel, to oblige people to give themselves to their power. Therefore, it is quite evident that mankind lacks any means of self-defense. The dictatorship makes progress. The wicked ones show themselves under an appearance of good behavior, but they will show themselves very soon for what they really are. Luz de Maria, Argentina, November 2020. The Antichrist will send another virus to force people to give away or to give themselves away to their power.
Ti leggo altri messaggi.
I'll read some more messages. Trevignano Romano, February 2021. My children, the whole world at this moment is under the rule of the evil forces, which have stopped hiding and are now overtly making people give themselves away to their power. Democracy is over and dictatorship is gradually emerging. Luz de Maria, 2021. You have accepted everything has been said to you without even pondering a little about it. They are putting limits to your behavior and your way of life because they are preparing you to the public appearance of the Antichrist, which is very soon to come. People of God, the elite has been ruling the world behind the scenes for a long time now. They have now just stopped presenting themselves as the saviors and have unveiled and have revealed their real plans to the world. December 2020. The rules of conduct are not fully guaranteed any longer, and the laws will be modified as a sort of retaliation against all those who will not surrender to the wickedness of the New World Order. They are preparing the manifestation of the Antichrist as a savior. They have also called all this stuff the big project for the centuries to come. Therefore, the elite is supposed to plan a worldwide scenario of extreme suffering in order to make people believe in the Antichrist as the only possible solution to all their problems and to the miserable situation they are creating. As our Virgin Lady has warned us, you have come into a dictatorship. Everybody can see this. There is also evidence of how heavy this situation will be to endure. But first of all, we have to listen to what the evil people say in order to understand the situation better. I'll give you some more examples. Mrs. Angela Merkel has threatened a new lockdown, claiming that she would even make the supermarkets close. The original president, Luca Zaia, has recently stated that, like it or not, by means of the injection of this liquid which we all know, we will go into a new world order. The phrase "like it or not" is quite meaningful. Our Lady has also added, the laws which are being passed in the future will be addressed towards people who will not adapt to the enforcement of the New World Order. Let's give you some more examples.
Anche qui possiamo fare degli altri esempi. In Israele, se non ti fai iniettare questo liquido, non ti danno il pass, il patentino per entrare.
In Israel, if you refuse the injection, you will not be granted the pass to go to most of the public places. They are studying the Green Pass in the European Union as well. This is supposed to give its owners admission to restaurants, supermarkets, and so on. During a meeting of the Bilderberg Group, which took place in 2019, but before the spreading of this virus, some serious information circulated. One of the current issues was the possibility of taking away children from their families if they do not comply with the new rules which are now being passed. Most of us have seen the video of the little girl in Australia who was forced to leave her family
che è stata portata via di forza perché hanno detto che era positiva e urlava, strillava proprio perché
and she was straight after tested positive to the virus and was carried away for this reason. Moreover, in Germany, one person who was conducting a live stream on a famous forecast channel made during the Simpson cartoons was allegedly caught by the local police, who forced the entrance him in, put him to the floor, making it impossible for him to move handcuffed, and taken away. But that's not all. They are even building a prison camp in the north of China, a huge camp for quarantine recently built. It will be able to contain up to 30,000 people. The same in Germany, where a structure is being built which is supposed to keep in prison people who will not be obedient to the new rules. The area will be surrounded by barbed wire. In some regions of Italy, some centers are being built for people who are tested positive, including those without any symptoms. A site of online purchasing strictly linked to the Italian Ministry of Economy has argued about the possibility of building container-like camps to be used in case of necessity for the near future. Some prison camps do already exist in the USA, surrounded by barbed wire, as in Germany, and with towers for surveillance, as we have seen for centers based in China. I have seen the presence of these camps of hundreds of thousands or even a few million antiseptic coffins. We mean by antiseptic coffins a kind of container which will neither let in nor let out any kinds of germs or viruses. Let's stay in the USA. Some anti-riot vehicles have been recently purchased by the US government. The military forces are currently being trained in order to be able to force and get into private houses and apartments.
Hanno acquistato dei mezzi antisommossa blindati e stanno addestrando i militari per fare le irruzioni nelle case della popolazione. Tutto quello che ho detto è assolutamente documentato, ci sono i filmati, io li ho visti, ma anche Morris Sun con la sua piattaforma ha fatto.
I have to point out that everything I have said so far is thoroughly documented by videos, which I have seen personally. Therefore, we are talking no longer about opinions, but just facts. What are we then supposed to reply to people who still say, let's hope it will all be all right? A possible immediate reply is that we are supposed to face reality and be aware of what is being prepared by the elite and lies ahead of us. Most of all, we need the courage to stand against this system, obviously in a peaceful way, and never act by means of violence, but never hide. Make videos exactly as we are doing, distribute flyers, and try and reach the highest possible number of people who will be able to grasp the core meaning of our messages. I'm quite pessimistic about the situation, Alberto. In my opinion, with the scenario we are drawing to our attention, it is almost impossible to stand against people who are so powerful. There comes the moment of the talk show we must like. It is from darkness that light comes out. By means of Alberto's YouTube channel, which I suggest everybody to follow, because it tells us about really amazing things. But we now come to a central issue. How can we find protection against these evil forces? Tell us something more, Alberto, about the protection which will be given to us by the higher beings of light, the same same beings who are going to turn down the evil forces.
superiori che, diciamo,
I'm obviously talking about our guardian angels. Tell us what you lived and experimented personally.
Beh, innanzitutto, se non fosse, lo chiamo così, per questo esercito superiore, sappiamo benissimo, come avete appena detto, che il nostro nemico è più forte. La mia esperienza è questa: ho scoperto questo argomento sempre grazie alla
Well,
Madonna,
first of all,
per presentartelo
if it
subito
wasn't for this
dei
higher
messaggi
army,
che
so to
vi-
speak,
che vi descrivo.
we know very well, as we have said, that our enemy is stronger than us.
Messaggio del 2010.
My experience is this one.
Apparizioni che ci
I
sono a
have
Roma.
discovered this topic
I vostri
thanks to
angeli
Our Lady
custodi vi
and to some messages
sostengono
which I am going
in
to
ogni
read
situazione.
right now.
Vi
Valeria
consigliano,
Copponi, September
vi suggeriscono
2012.
cos'è meglio per voi.
Your guardian angels support you in every
sostengono in
situation
ogni
and in every
difficoltà.
difficult moment. They give you advice. They
Montenera.
suggest you what is best for you.
Apparizioni
Montenera,
del
northeast of
Veneto,
Italy,
Roma.
region of Veneto, 2013. Always
Rivolgetevi
ask your guardian
anche
angels
al
for
vostro
help.
angelo custode,
They're always so happy and
come
so
esso
quick to
lerpo
support you.
felice di soccorrervi.
Our Lady tells us to ask our guardian
La
angel for
Madonna
help,
ci
but she also
invita
tells us
a
that
chiedere
all the
l'aiuto
people,
dell'angelo custode,
even those who have faith,
però ho visto che
go to church and
tutte
pay
le
attention to her
persone,
messages,
io
don't pray their guardian
intendo le
angel,
persone che
and don't ask for
vanno
help.
anche in chiesa,
This is
le
not good.
persone che seguono
I can
i
guess
messaggi
that perhaps
mariani,
now some
non lo
people will
invocano,
ask,
non lo
what have
pregano.
I
È
got
una
to do with
realtà
my
che non
guardian
si considera
angel?
più e
I'll
non
give
va
you
affatto
some more
bene.
examples to make the scenario even clearer.
Io lo so, adesso le persone diranno: e cosa ci faccio con l'angelo custode, con lo scenario che abbiamo appena descritto, giusto? Non è così. Ti spiego, ti faccio ancora degli esempi. Io,
As you
come
certainly
sapete,
know,
vabbè,
I
pubblico
often
dei
upload some
filmati,
videos
delle
and make them
signore
public.
guardano, una di queste
A lady
signore
who
mi ha
watched one of these
contattato via
videos
mail,
contacted me via
mi ha dato
email,
il numero
and I gave
di
her my
telefono.
telephone number. We
Abbiamo
talked a lot
parlato
and shared our
di questa
concerns about this
situazione,
situation
insomma, un
with
po' di
each other.
preoccupazione,
At a certain point, she asked me,
e mi ha
Alberto,
detto:
I would be
io,
glad if I
Alberto,
could
vorrei
receive the Holy
ritornare a
Eucharist
ricevere
again after
l'Eucaristia,
some
il corpo
time,
di Cristo.
but I don't know where to go.
Però
I
non
wish I could
so da
receive
chi
it from a
andare, cioè
real
mi
man of
piacerebbe
God, from a real priest,
riceverla da
but
un
I don't know
vero
where to
uomo di
go.
Dio, da un vero
Then I
consacrato.
replied to her,
E proprio
I
non so
suggest you
da chi
pray your
andare.
guardian angel. Pray to
Allora le
receive
ho
a clue.
detto: prega l'angelo custode, chiedi che ti dia un indizio, un segno, per farti capire da chi devi andare. Comunque pregalo. Lei si è messa
She
in
started to
preghiera
pray with her husband
con suo
before
marito
going to sleep.
prima di andare a dormire.
She prayed her
E poi
guardian
detto
angel,
l'angelo
making
custode,
this
faccio
request.
questa richiesta che ho
Then
appena
she went to
descritto.
sleep, and the same
È
night she
andata a
had
dormire,
prayed, she dreamt the
ma
priest of the
proprio ti
church
parlo la
she
stessa
used to
notte,
attend 10 years
in cui aveva
before.
pregato. È andata a dormire,
That was
ha fatto
exactly
un
the
sogno, ha
priest
sognato
who
il
gave her
prete,
the Holy
il
Eucharist.
consacrato che era nella sua parrocchia
I'll
10
give you some
anni
more examples.
prima, e allora ha
A friend of
capito
mine
con grande
contacted me
semplicità che
after watching some
era proprio
videos of
quello
mine.
consacrato
She is
che
very
doveva
devoted to the
andare in
guardian
Eucaristia.
angels. She also prays the Archangel
Ho altri
Michael
esempi.
and the Virgin Mary.
Un'amica,
One day she was
anche
going to a
lei avrà
sanctuary
guardato questi
hundreds
miei
of
filmati,
miles
mi ha
away from home.
contattato,
This place
è
is in the
molto
middle of nature,
devota
surrounded
dell'angelo
by hills.
custodi, prega
Since it
anche
was so
l'Arcangelo
distant
Michele,
and
devota alla
isolated,
Madonna.
she was afraid not to find a gas
Un
station,
giorno doveva
which is
andare
quite
in
understandable.
un pellegrinaggio, in un luogo
She
di
started her
pellegrinaggio a
journey.
centinaia
She
di
started to
chilometri
pray
da
her
casa
guardian
sua.
angel.
Questo
Obviously, she
luogo
stopped
però
at the first gas
è
station
in
she
mezzo alla
found
natura,
on
in
her
mezzo alle
way.
colline.
She filled it up.
E
As soon as she
giusto
arrived
per
at
non
this
farlo lei
sanctuary,
aveva un po'
she
paura
continued
di
to
non
pray.
trovare un benzinaio,
On her journey
di rimanere a
back,
piedi con la
she gets
macchina.
into
È
her car
comprensibile, poi una
and
donna
sees
da
the level
sola
of the fuel on the full
è
position.
comprensibile.
She goes
È
on her
partita,
journey,
ha cominciato a pregare,
and after hundreds of
l'angelo
miles,
custode, si è
and she
fermata
sees that the
naturalmente
level
dal primo
is still
benzinaio, ha
on
fatto il
full.
pieno di
The
benzina.
angels can do everything and
È
help us in any
arrivata
possible way.
in questo
In this
luogo di
case,
pellegrinaggio,
they kept
ha
the
fatto le
level
sue
of fuel
preghiere,
unchanged
tutto.
after hundreds of miles.
Paratico, apparizioni Brescia, sono a 40-50 minuti da casa mia.
Paratico,
Questo.
not far from Brescia, in the
Messaggio
north of
del
Italy,
2013.
2013.
I vostri angeli
Your guardian
custodi
angels are taking care of
vegliano
each one
accanto a ciascuno
of
di
you
voi
and defend you on the most
difendono
difficult
nei
moments.
momenti più pesanti.
Luz de Maria, April
Luz de Maria,
2013.
aprile 2013.
How many dangers are being kept away from each of you by the action of your guardian angels?
Dai vostri angeli
I carried
custodi.
out some projects with the young people of Evolutionary
Io
Factor,
ho fatto dei lavori
an association
con,
based in Rome.
i ragazzi di Fattore Evolutivo di Roma.
We made 4 or 5 videos together and also a few
4 o 5
documentary
filmati
films
insieme, abbiamo fatto anche un paio di documentari sulle apparizioni mariane di Trevignano
concerning the
Romano.
apparition of
Quindi
Trevignano
ho una
Romano.
certa confidenza.
Therefore, I made
Ogni
acquaintance
tanto
with
li
them.
sento anche al telefono, mi faccio anche 4
I listen to them on the phone every now and then.
Un giorno ero
One
al
day, I
telefono
was on the
con
phone
uno
with
di
one
loro,
of them, Fabio. We were talking about an incredible case which happened thanks to the intervention of the guardian angels.
Io ho voluto
I wanted to go into
approfondire
detail of the
l'argomento
topic
perché, insomma,
because
il
it's a
mio
topic
pane
I'm obviously quite
sono
interested in.
estremamente attratto.
Fabio gave me the phone
E
number
Fabio
of
mi ha
a
dato il numero di
95-year-old
telefono di
lady
una signora
who
di
has the same
97
presence of
anni.
mind
È una signora
as 40 or
estremamente
50-year-old
lucida,
person.
parla come una donna di 40
During the
50 anni,
conversation, she
veramente
told me that 15 years
in
before,
gamba. E
approximately,
mi ha
she was
raccontato
attending a
questo
conference of guardian
episodio.
angels.
Lei
When a young woman
praticamente
raised her arm,
all'incirca,
stood
adesso
up,
non
and said the typical sentence,
ti dico
I don't
il
believe
numero
in the
preciso, comunque
existence of
15 anni
angels.
fa era a una conferenza sugli angeli custodi. Ha ascoltato, c'era una ragazza e ha detto la tipica frase: io non credo agli angeli custodi. Ok. Dopo qualche giorno è partita in
After a few
Inghilterra
days,
per
she
degli
left for
studi
England
universitari.
to study at the University College.
Una sera torna
One evening,
dall'università, c'era già
while she was
buio
on her way
e nel
home
tragitto
and it
per
was already
tornare a casa
dark,
doveva passare per
she
forza
necessarily
attraverso
had to
il
walk
parco.
across a park in order to come home.
Vede in questo
She sees
parco
in this
che
park
c'è un
a young
ragazzo,
man
un uomo,
who is walking
che cammina
strangely
in un modo
or moving in
un
a
po' strano,
suspicious
insomma,
way, so
fa
to
dei
speak.
movimenti sospetti e
She
percepisce che
realizes
la
that the
situazione
situation is
diventa
becoming dangerous.
pericolosa.
During
In
these
questi
moments,
momenti
you will call God,
uno, anche
even
se
if you are an
ateo, una
atheist.
voce a Dio gliela dà.
Talking mentally to her guardian angel,
Parlando col
she
suo
says to
angelo
him,
custode mentalmente,
if
ha
you
detto:
exist,
se ci
please
sei,
help me, because I don't know
aiutami,
what's going to
pensaci tu
happen
perché
now.
qui non so come va a finire.
She walks on, she crosses this
Procede,
young man,
cammina,
and nothing happens.
incrocia
She still goes on and
questo
arrives
ragazzo
home. She goes
e
to
non
bed
succede
and wakes
niente.
up in the next morning.
Procede, arriva a casa,
She listens to the news, which reports a woman
va a
being
letto,
raped
va a
and
dormire,
murdered in
si
the
sveglia
same
il mattino
park
dopo,
where she was.
sente il
And roughly
notiziario
5 or
e
10
sente
minutes
che
before, she
una
came across
donna
that exact point.
nel parco in cui era
The
passata
murderer
lei,
was
nello
immediately
stesso
caught
orario,
by the police.
5 o 10 minuti dopo all'incirca, comunque una donna era stata violentata e uccisa. Questo assassino è stato catturato subito. Questa ragazza aveva uno zio che
This
lavorava
lady had an
per la
uncle
polizia di
who
Scotland
worked for
Yard
Scotland Yard.
e proprio grazie a suo
Thanks to
zio
her
riesce a
uncle,
combinare
she manages to
un
arrange an
incontro con
interview with the
questo
murderer.
assassino.
She sees him
Lo
and she
vede,
immediately recognizes him as the
e si
person
accorge che
she
era
had
proprio
met
quel
on that
ragazzo
day
che
at the
aveva
park.
incrociato al parco, era
She
proprio lui.
asks me, listen,
E dice:
why didn't you rape and
ascolta,
murder
perché
me?
non hai
The murderer
violentato e
looks at
ucciso
her
lei quel
and
giorno?
replies, are you
E
kidding?
l'assassino la
How could
guarda
I
come
have
dire:
done
ma c'è cosa stai
that
dicendo? E ha
with that
risposto:
giant who was
ma
walking
come
with you?
potevo?
In
Con
short, when the
quell'omone,
lady
con
talked
quel
to the murderer, she
Marcantonio stare lì
immediately
vicino.
realized that the guardian angel had
Praticamente
projected into
la
the murderer's
ragazza
brain
sicuramente si è
the
accorta
image of
subito
a
che lì non è
well-built
quel
and strong
povero
man
angelo.
who was
Praticamente
walking with her.
l'angelo custode aveva
As a
proiettato
consequence,
nella
the
corteccia
man was scared of
visiva
that presence,
dell'assassino
and she
l'immagine
didn't
di un
assault the
uomo
lady,
di grossa
who was
taglia
then,
che
therefore,
le camminava
saved.
vicino. Quindi l'assassino in conseguenza si è intimorito e non l'ha attaccata, quindi così questa ragazza si è salvata.
È una storia meravigliosa, Alberto.
It's a wonderful story. I was really amazed listening to your evaluations and interpretations of the messages. Do you want to add something, Lorenzo?
Sì,
Yes,
a
please.
parte queste storie
Apart from
meravigliose che
these
ci fanno
wonderful
capire
stories,
come
which allow us to understand
questo
that this is a period
periodo
of
sia
delay which has been granted to us, in order to allow more and more people to wake up and starting to open their eyes about the revelation of the mystery of the Apocalypse. But since you have talked about the Holy Eucharist, Alberto, I would like to show you a video which I took from one of your documentary films. This video shows us a sort of Eucharistic miracle, something which will be then explained by Alberto in detail.
Veramente sconvolgente. Professor Marnelli, lei conosce altri casi analogo a quello che abbiamo appena visto o comunque di trasformazione dell'Eucaristia?
Proprio analogo direi di no, perché questo è veramente eccezionale.
Dear Alberto, tell us more about this sort of Eucharistic transformation according to your point of view. Well, I had shown this video during a meeting last year, because the Virgin Mary continues to tell us repeatedly about the Holy Eucharist. She tells us in her messages, Jesus is alive and really present in the Eucharist. I also talked about this to remind people that the Eucharist must be received respectfully. Since this pandemic disease has spread itself, people started to take Eucharist in their hands, but Our Lady has often warned us not to receive the communion on hands. And that is for the reason of spiritual light, a light we can't see with our senses, which can perceive a very narrow and limited range of frequencies. This mystic visionary, who was a few years ago one of the protagonists of this miracle, in the presence of the Pope John Paul II, has received messages for the past 36 years, just exactly as Medjugorje and Luz de Maria. The messages are now being translated into Italian. I've never talked about the messages of the meetings before, but mainly for a shortage of time. This lady who received the messages has showed us signs on her body which other people and other mystics didn't get on them. In South Korea, for example, during a procession, the mystic lady fell on the ground in enormous pain and screaming. Her trousers were getting stained with red. The red was the blood running out from her legs. The blood had a kind of glue-like effect on her trousers and sticked on them. They had to use a water tube to get her trousers wet and cut them pieces by pieces in order to take them off from her. When they took off her clothes, they realized that she had her legs full of horizontal wounds, like the signs of the whipping received by Jesus Christ before the crucifixion. The mystic lady had these incredible signs on her body. The miracle happened on other occasions as well, just to remind us of these important issues.
chiese sparse per tutto il mondo e proprio ci ha ricordato questo aspetto importante.
Bene, intanto stanno
So
arrivando
far,
tantissimi
Alberto, we
messaggi,
have
ma
received a lot of
qualcosa
messages.
come Gabriele che dice è
Among
tutto
them,
vero
we'll read one. For
e
example,
condivido per esperienza
it's all
personale.
true, and
Poi
I say
abbiamo
that
anche
because of personal
Naomi che dice
experience.
grazie Alberto, preziosi
Naomi
messaggi.
writes,
Paolo,
thanks Alberto for the
in
precious
atto
things
la
you teach us.
polarizzazione dell'umanità, scegliere o conquistare
Paolo,
chi
the
sei.
polarization
Grazie
of
per questo
mankind is
inizio.
taking
Poi
place.
abbiamo
Grazie
We
a
are
voi,
supposed to
cari
choose whose side to
quindi
be
la
on right now.
particolarità è
Thanks, Albert.
insomma l'ostia è diventata
Alberto,
carne per intenderci.
I'm grateful to you, dear friends.
In altre,
In short, the Eucharist has become human flesh.
diciamo,
Yes,
parrocchie in
exactly.
Argentina, Buenos
In
Aires,
other
in
churches in
Colombia,
Buenos Aires and in Colombia as
come
well, or in Lanciano in
questa
central Italy,
particola che si è
not far
trasformata
from
in
Rome,
carne, hanno analizzato
the
il
Eucharist,
contenuto senza
which turned to
naturalmente
human
avvertire
flesh,
gli scienziati da dove
was analyzed by
proveniva,
the
e
scientists
in tutti
who
i
weren't
casi hanno
told
visto che
where
era
this
l'emisfero
sample came from.
dell'endocardio, cioè il cuore.
In all
Dopo
cases,
sanguigno
it was
AB
identified
positivo,
as the muscle
che
of the
era
heart, blood group AB
proprio così
positive,
nelle
which
aree
was
dove
quite
viveva
common in the
Gesù
geographical areas
2000 anni
where
fa.
Poi
Jesus
abbiamo Rita che
lived.
dice ciao Alberto, mi hai consegnato i tuoi
Rita
preziosi
writes
fogli
to
di
us,
testimonianze durante
hello
una
Alberto,
conferenza.
you gave me a
Grazie
copy
per
of
le
your
tue
precious
sante
notes
parole.
during a conference.
Davvero? Dove?
Non so che tipo di conferenza e che tipo di testimonianza.
Sì,
però-
perché non l'ho detto, ma andavo anche
I
a
have often
conferenze
attended
di Pier Giorgio
conferences by
Caria,
Pier
Mauro
Giorgio Caria
Biglino,
and Mauro Biglino,
Giorgio Di Bitonto, Don Minutella,
Giorgio
in
Di
tanti altri,
Bidonto,
non sto qui
Don
a
Minutella,
Allora,
elencarli.
ti
and
sei
many
aperto
more.
un portone, dopo
I'm not going to
ti
list them
di
all.
seguire un po' tutti coloro che più o meno
You
cercano
opened
di
a sort of
capire
portal,
queste situazioni
and you have
mistiche
never
nel
since
periodo.
stopped
Caro Luca, tra
relating
l'altro,
with people who
mi è
share the
arrivata
same issues.
un'informazione, il caro Alberto, che questo,
Dear Luca, Alberto
questa
gave me some
ossa
important
trasformata in
information
carne,
because he
esaminata,
said that
era
the
del
sample
gruppo
was
AB
belonging to
positivo.
the
Non
AB
COVID
positive group.
positivo, è quello
This
che
group was the same group found
nell'analisi della
during the
sangue
analysis
e del
of the Holy Shroud
sipario
of Turin
del
in
volto
Italy
che si trova a
and of the
Oviedo,
relics of
quindi
Oviedo in
sia di
Spain.
Oviedo sia di Torino,
The group is the same.
c'è lo stesso gruppo di
But this is
questa
not a
persona
trivial
che portava lo
coincidence
stesso
at all.
gruppo sanguigno. È una coincidenza mica da ridere.
We read
Una
some more
coincidenza da ridere,
messages.
intanto stanno
Rita confirms that you were at the
arrivando
conference
tantissimi
held by
messaggi.
Pier Giorgio Caria.
Infatti Rita conferma che eravate
I've been to more than
alla
50
conferenza di Pier
conferences
Giorgio Caria.
held by the Pier Giorgio Caria indeed.
Sono
Therefore, I
andate una
can't
trentina
remember.
di conferenze, quindi di Pier
On the
Giorgio Caria,
note I
quindi
gave
non mi
her,
ricordo, però
there is my phone number.
su quel foglio c'è
She can
il mio
contact
numero di
me.
telefono, se vuole contattarmi può chiamarmi tranquillamente.
Well, to conclude, we are very grateful to you, Alberto, for your presence. We hope to have you again as a guest in one of our next talk shows. I wish you a very good summer.
Una buona estate e naturalmente
It was very kind of you to invite me, Luca.
Siete stati molto
We will
gentili
certainly
e
stay
ci sentiamo
in
ancora
touch.
prossimamente.